So, one of the things we should have a general understanding of before we begin the actual course is how computer programs actually work. So, when we write computer code, we're going to be writing what's called source code. Our source code is going to live in just a basic file. And we can write our source code in, if we really wanted, we could write it in something like Microsoft Word or even Notepad or some other form of text editor. Now we're going to be using a certain type of text editor, and I'll get into that in a little bit later. But just know that when we write our programming code, our computer code, it's going to look something like this down here. Let me get the pointer on. It's going to look like this. This is actual computer code here. And we're going to save this code to one or more files, and that's going to be called our source code. The whole collection of that's called our source code. Now, the computer itself doesn't really know how to read this source code. It doesn't know how to interpret that. The computer only really knows how to read ones and zeros. It only knows how to read binary or machine code. So we're going to have to do a process what's known as compile our code. And to compile our code, we use a compiler. So we're going to write source code. We're going to throw that source code through a compiler, and it's going to compile our code, transform that into a series of ones and zeros or machine code, and that's how. And then that's sends it to the computer. That's how the computer is able to execute our code. So a lot of courses will start off by having you download Java or the programming language that you're going to be writing in. In this course, again, we're going to be writing Java. But they'll go through the whole installation process, and then they'll also have you download some IDE, which stands for Integrated Development Environment, or some other text editor to write your code in, and go through all that stuff. And don't get me wrong, that's super important, and we will absolutely be going through that. But when you're just starting out with programming, especially the basic stuff, I think it's more important that we actually get our hands dirty with some code right out of the gate instead of trying to learn how to download a couple things on our computers. So in order to expedite that sort of learning curve process, we're going to be using what's known as an online Java compiler. That way we don't have to install any software on our computer or spend any time doing that kind of stuff. We're just going to be coding right away, right on some website essentially. So the online compiler that I recommend is this one right here, and a link to this will be in the description below. So we're going to go ahead and go to that real quick. Or you can even just search on Google for a Java online compiler or Java online, and then just find one of these here. I've done this one before from Tutorials Point. This one's fine, but my favorite one, like I said, is this one right here. So I'm just going to click on that, give this a second to load up, and then we'll see what it looks like here. Let me blow this up so it's a little bit easier for y'all to see. Move him to the side. There we go. Alright, so this is what our online compiler is going to look like. Over here on this left-hand side, this is our text editor, and this is where we're going to be actually writing our code. You see this code here looks exactly the same from before. This is our actual code. This is going to be called our source code. And then over here on the right side, as our program is running or executing, this is what's going to be essentially the output. And this is what we will see. So if we want to compile and run this code right now, we'll press this run button, and it's going to compile our code, transform this source code, or compile this source code rather, into machine code, kind of like binary. And that's how the computer can actually execute that code. And that's going to output over here. So we see our output says hello world, and that's because that's what this line right here says to do. It says system.out println, print line, and then I want you to print the line called hello world. And if you have successfully done that, congratulations, you just ran your first Java program. Hello world is a very, very common first program that almost like 99% of programmers run for the first program, and it's really just a way of getting to understand what a program looks like. So in the next lesson, I'm going to cut this one off here, but in the next lesson, we're going to be picking right back up here, and we're just going to go over a little bit of the Java syntax, because I'm sure you're a little bit confused on what may have just happened. All we did was press run and see an output. We don't really know what any of this other stuff is. So let's go over to the next video, and we'll learn what all that is.